first speaker is going to be Ali Trombitas, and she's an agriculture and horticulture educator at Cornell Cooperative Extension in New York in the United States. She supports 7 seed libraries, 2 of which opened last year. Thanks for joining us, Ali, and take it away.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for having me today. It's exciting to get to talk about this. So yes, as Rania mentioned, I work for Cornell Cooperative Extension, Tompkins County, which is in central New York. I'm the agriculture and horticulture educator. We have 7 seed libraries across the county that we support. I did just want to drop a quick, this is where I'm coming to this work from in here. I am from New York, from the Hudson Valley, lived all over the US doing a lot of different types of education with everything from like daycare through seniors, have some youth development, and then also some like commercial farming experience. And moved to Central New York to get my master's. Master's of Public Health in Food Systems. And so I've really just been sort of living this, like empowering folks to know that they have what they need to make their communities healthy and vibrant. And I see seed cabinets as being a big part of that. I have worked for Extension for a while now. I was one of the directors at one of our 4-H camps in 2020, which was quite a summer to be a camp director. And then did my graduate internship with with Cornell Cooperative Extension, Tompkins County, which we just shortened to CCE Tompkins, which I'll refer to it as. And then did my internship on some food justice and food gardening programs, and then moved into more of an admin role, and then missed being on the education side of things. So I've been in my current role for about 2 years. And this is a picture of me with one of my master gardeners, who I do want to talk about the Master Gardener Volunteer Program. This is a master gardener who has been active with the program for many decades. For those who aren't familiar, this is just like the national snapshot for the US of the Master Gardener Volunteer Program. So lots of stuff happening. This is through cooperative extensions in most places. It's active across the United States and in most, if not all, Canadian provinces. So if you are thinking about starting a seed library and there is a Master Gardener program active in your area, I would really encourage you to meet up with them, because I'll be saying like we throughout the course of this presentation, and what I primarily mean, right, is that we have Master Gardener volunteers that are putting a lot of time and energy into supporting these. So just wanted to sort of specifically call that out. And especially this pounds of produce donated, this 1.2 million pounds of produce donated. There's a lot of work happening in this sphere. So this is the seed library that is in our cooperative extension office. This is the Salutation Seed Library. It's been here for almost 25 years. These are all like an old library card drawer. So you can see that we have flowers, herbs, vegetables. We have more vegetables than anything else in our seed library currently. There's some movement happening around that we'll talk about. Up top, there's a sign-in sheet, so folks can take up to 10 packets per household per month, and we just ask that folks sign in. Donations that get turned in will usually get sort of scanned by either myself or a colleague or one of our Master Gardener volunteers. The desk right behind our seed cabinet is our Grow line, which is our gardening helpline, which I'll talk a little bit more about. And the other thing I wanted to call out is the box on the top, which is kind of small writing, but it says free does not count towards 10-pack limit. So we put seeds up there that we don't think are necessarily viable anymore, like they're too old, but folks still might want to take them. either for art projects or just because they want to try and see if any of them germinate. So that is our sort of more experimental area. But we pull seeds out of the cabinet that we don't think are viable anymore because we want people to have success with the packets that they are taking. Some notable things that don't go in our cabinet. Cannabis is a big one. We live in New York State. It is legal for folks to grow in the state of New York, but that is not something that we accept. We have had folks try to donate it and we have to say no. Things that are invasive in New York State or any of the surrounding states. Sometimes we have things that are sort of more aggressive but not invasive. So things like morning glory or mint, and we'll put notes on those that say, right, that they're like, they can be a little bit more aggressive. One of my coworkers was helping sort some seeds, and on the morning glory sort of stack just wrote, "You will not be able to get rid of this." And I kept that note because it feels correct. And then we also won't put treated seeds into our cabinet. So things that sort of have like pesticide or that kind of coating on the outside already. Sometimes those do get donated from seed companies, but I like since people are kind of coming and going from the seed cabinet, we don't include them in the sort of seed cabinet that's open to folks. So we've expanded seed libraries a bunch in the county. This is Tompkins County. This is where I live. So this red star is where our office is, and that's where our seed cabinet has been, as I said, for like 25 years. In 2021, we had a Master Gardener volunteer who partnered with the Tompkins County Public Library, which is also in downtown Ithaca, to start a seed library there. So that one's been there since 2021. That library has a library of things. So they have other things that people can rent out, like, kitchen equipment and lawn equipment. So the seed library is sort of in conjunction with that. And then last year, both the Ulysses Library and the Groton Library reached out to ask about seed libraries. And with the help of some Master Gardener volunteers, we were able to work with them to start seed libraries there. And then I think that all the libraries must have had a meeting, because then the other libraries all reached out to me. So this year we're helping to start 3 new ones. Newfields down in the bottom left does seed giveaways sometimes, but hasn't had a sort of more like regular seed library where people are encouraged to bring things back. So we're really excited to now have seed cabinets at every library in the county. Danby and Caroline don't have their own libraries. So it's really exciting to have that expansion and to have seeds just where people are already going and just have that awareness. So for folks who are starting or who are new to this, I think this is one of the biggest questions, is how do you stock a seed library? We do get seed donations from companies. So both some of the big box stores, but also seed companies themselves. One of the ways that we don't necessarily get more seeds, but we do get a bigger variety of seeds, is that we host a seed swap every year with one of the community gardens locally. And this is a photo from the seed swap. So you can see it's sort of a mix of commercial packets that have been donated, and then interspersed are all of the little yellow or manila coin envelopes. And those are, and some of the like the little smaller white ones are ones that people have brought back to donate, or have like a big container of that they sort into smaller containers. We also do get a good number of seed donations from Master Gardener volunteers. That's what MGVs is. And that is really useful, especially for some varieties that are adapted really well to our region. So we get some good donations from them. We also get donations from community partners. We have worked with like the Finger Lakes Native Plant Society. And there's been some good opportunities to partner with like pollinator pathways. And then we do spend a small amount of money on seeds. Some donations will ask you to pay shipping costs, which we are okay with. And then near the end of the year, when there are some seeds that are on sale, we'll think about things that we know are really, really high demand for the seed cabinet, and order things like last year I ordered some herbs and some lettuce that were on sale. We also have sometimes staff or volunteers that have professional memberships that give them pro deals. So, 5 or 10% off of one order from this company. So that is another sort of way that you can reduce the costs if you are ordering seeds. And then, of course, we have folks bringing them back, which I'll talk about in just a minute here. So this is what one of our conference rooms looked like the other day. We were packing up some seeds to send out to our libraries. We're going to be doing that in the next week. And this is over to the left is sort of what we promised our new cabinets this year. So the bag of seed donations, including a mix of things. We have a flyer that explains what a seed cabinet is and encourages people to bring those seeds back at the end of the year. Again, some of those coin envelopes so that people can sort seed donations into smaller portions. And then I just asked those libraries what additional information they wanted. What is the planting guide, a how-to for saving seed? What do they think is most useful? This is our gardening helpline. So this has also been really useful for partnering with community partners so that libraries know that they can send folks to our gardening helpline if people have questions. So this has also just been a really good resource. And again, if you are in an area that has either an extension or other nonprofits that do some kind of gardening help, it's really useful to sort of have them as partners and involved. So definitely reach out to them because the support that they can offer, especially the educational support, can be important. This graphic will look familiar because it is from our hosts of the conference today. But these are just some considerations if you're sort of helping to start a new cabinet, or you are maybe like a community partner who is passing things along for folks. I think what kinds of gardeners will be visiting the seed cabinet is a big one. So thinking about, for example, like rural versus urban gardeners, you have folks who are more likely to be growing things in containers, and making sure that container varieties are the things that get passed along. Would beginning gardeners have success with these plants is, I think, another big one. Not that, you're only having beginning gardeners visiting seed cabinets, of course, but thinking about what kinds of plants are going to be maybe useful for beginning gardeners, or if somebody's just kind of picking it up. Things that can be direct seeded are really useful for seed libraries, especially if you're not necessarily having somebody who's like really, really actively involved with it. Will these plants be a problem? Like I was saying, are these things that are going to be really aggressive for beginning gardeners, like a mint or a morning glory? Of course, depending on where you are, this varies. And then are these plants going to be true to seed? So this is when, we're talking about seed saving. That's why I put this graphic up is, if folks are really excited about saving seed and they're very new to it, are they, going to bring us a bunch of squash seeds that they saved? And we can't necessarily say that that's going to be like true to the variety that it was originally. And that's fine, right? We can sort of encourage folks to embrace that and to, say like, we don't know exactly what the squash is going to be, but we know that it's one that grew well locally. So, try it out, but that might not be necessarily what people are looking for when they're looking for seeds. And we do want to encourage people to bring things back. So we don't necessarily want to discourage the things that might not be true to seed, which just means, very likely as labeled means they self-pollinate, means that those varieties aren't mixing with one another and creating basically a slightly different version of the plant. This is just, now that we have a lot of these seed cabinets, what else would I like to be doing around them? Involving like other volunteers and other community groups more is definitely a priority. Especially at the Seed Swap, we have some really great community partners that come in. Like I mentioned, the Native Plant Society. There's also a really cool, like mostly offline rematriation project for bean varieties that are indigenous to our area. I think it's really important for extensions, especially in the United States, to partner with Indigenous groups when they approach us, just because the land grant system was largely that land was granted by taking land from Indigenous folks. So if we have the opportunity to bring those seeds home, if we're being approached and asked about that, I definitely want to make it a priority. Seed saving, as I mentioned, just education around it, encouraging folks on how to do it, how to know what varieties are going to save seed well, letting folks know that there are things that they can just wait a second year and get seeds out of. Education, again, around like what can and cannot reliably be saved, and also seed viability, how long those seeds are lasting, how to store them in a way that they're going to last the longest. And then last is viewing it more as a library than just a thing that they can come and like get seeds and take. We do really want to encourage folks bringing things back at the end of the year, and separating them out. And I think we're sort of slowly working on that, but would love to see more of it. We also have a new native plant initiative that's been around for about a year at this point. These are, again, some of the Master Gardener volunteers. And so we've been focusing a little bit more on plants that are native to the Northeast, coming into the cabinets more, because that's not something that's been a like really big focus of ours historically. But there's been lots of interest in it. Anytime we do programming related to native plants, to pollinators, to like ecological gardening, those programs are really popular. So people are interested. And so we're trying to bring some of that interest into the seed cabinets as well. So then just last thing is like current needs and challenges that I'm seeing with our seed libraries. I think explaining that we are really community driven and that there is this kind of give and take with the seed libraries, and some years are more successful than others with that. That like this sort of operates the best if people grow the plants and then bring the plants back. We have there's approximately like 100,000 people in our county. We know there's a lot of seeds out there. And if we can take really good care of those seeds, then there's just so much abundance that we can benefit from. I did some math several years ago for a middle school program that, if you map it out, from one single strawberry, if every single seed was viable on that strawberry, every seed got planted, every seed from those strawberries got planted, you could get 6 million strawberry plants in 5 years from one strawberry. Obviously that is just theoretical, but I think that like scale is so wonderful to imagine when you're thinking about like taking care of seeds and saving seeds, and giving that abundance back to the community. Sometimes people are looking for very specific things and we might not have it, right? That's not, it's again, because it's community driven, what is coming in is like what we have to share back. And I think the other thing is, that we get, perception is that we get like tons and tons of donations, and people are often drawn to the commercial packets of seeds. But the ones donated from community members are the ones that we know grow here, right? They're tried and true locally. It's a really good opportunity to just try out new plants, and to get things that you wouldn't necessarily be able to go to the store and buy. So that's been, I think, a big part of it. And again, kind of varies, cabinet by cabinet, year by year, group by group, as to where folks are sort of seeing that. So thank you all for your time. I'm happy to answer some questions.
So the ones that we've got so far is how old do the seeds need to be before they're deemed old or not viable?
Yeah, so there's a couple different like viability charts. Mostly seed companies are the ones that I like pull from. Clear Creek Seeds has a really good seed viability chart. Johnny Seeds has one. And so usually I will look at what their estimated viability is plus 1 year. And if they're older than that, then I'll pull them. And then also if we get donations that are like the packets are very clearly water stained, Sometimes I will leave them in the cabinet for a little while, but sometimes I will just put them directly into the likely not viable stack. Because again, we're not throwing those seeds out. We're just kind of letting those be free, like totally free for folks to experiment with if they want.
Okay, so another question is, how do you know if seeds have been treated?
Yeah, so it'll say on the packet. So those are pretty well regulated. Again, I don't know what the labeling laws are in other countries. But I know for the US, those will be labeled. Sometimes they will have like you can tell because they have coatings on them, but the problem is that not every coated seed is a treated seed. So you wouldn't necessarily be able to tell just by looking at them because there's some that are coded just for like visibility. Um, but usually it'll say on the packet. It's supposed to tell you exactly what's in the packet.
Okay. And then someone said, so why don't you have treated seeds in the cabinet and do they harm other seeds?
They don't harm other seeds necessarily. And we have we have people who use treated seeds. I just, those require a certain level of like I mean, not protective equipment, but for the most part, seeds are not dangerous. And those aren't even necessarily dangerous either, but you would like want to wear gloves when handling them. And if there are folks who are really committed to only using organic seed, I wouldn't want like a seed packet to open up and have those seeds rolling around in one of the drawers, and have that be something that like concerns other people.
So this is the question we all want to answer next. How do you encourage folks to return the seeds? And also, do you provide education on seed saving?
Yeah, so we mostly our education up to this point has been via like educational materials, like, information that goes out at the seed libraries. Sometimes through our newsletter, we have a gardening newsletter that our like department runs. Um, but there are other groups that do sort of more intentional seed saving workshops. And so we had definitely like encouraged and sent folks to those before. Um, we would like to do more around it. It's just a really busy time of year, like when we would be doing seed saving workshops. So it hasn't been a priority. So mostly it's through like paper educational materials. One of the things we will do is we will put information about saving certain seeds into the drawers that match that. So like we have a little like quarter sheet or half sheet about saving tomato seeds, and we just put those in the tomato drawer of the seed cabinet, just so that they're more accessible. But yeah, we would like to do more around that. And then for the encouraging people to bring seeds back, it's mostly signage. Um, but we have also just done like encouraged the libraries to even you can even do a seed swap later in the season, when folks are really kind of bringing their stuff back and sharing out things after they've had a season of growing them, where they can say like this worked really well, or like my yard was too wet to grow this thing. And I know we've had one librarian, maybe two, that have done that.
Next question is, how can you be sure that donated seeds are viable?
Yeah, we can't. We have, information at our seed library that says, these are all community donations. There are, depending on what state or country you're in, there are some different rules about that. But we just have signage at our seed library that says like these are community donated seeds. We do ask folks when they donate seeds to put the year on the packets if they're bringing things back that they are like sorting out themselves. If they don't have a year written on them, it sort of depends. Sometimes I will leave them in the seed cabinet for a while because sometimes they will get taken. But yeah, the short answer is you don't know for sure if those seeds are going to be viable or not.
The next question says, please may you clarify what you mean when you say that seeds should be brought back at the end of the year.
Yeah, yeah. So there's sort of two possible avenues there. One is that you took a packet of seeds or an envelope of seeds and you didn't use all of them, and there's still a good number left, and you're not planning on growing it again next year. So you can just bring that back so somebody else can get it the following year. Or the second one is that you're saving seeds, right? So you've grown beans or peas or some of those other things that it's quite easy to save the seed from, and instead of eating all of them, or flour, there's lots of flours where it's pretty easy to save seed, and so instead of eating all of them if they're vegetables or any of that, you save those seeds, and you take care of them, and then you bring them back either at the end of the year or the following year for the seed swap, to give those out to other folks.
So next question is, do you save your seeds in any particular way or just within the cabinet? I've heard freezing or refrigerating seeds is helpful to retain germination rates.
Yeah, that is true for some seeds. We don't do that. We just keep them in a like darker, cooler storage closet. Um, but there are some seeds that can be helpful for, but ours is just, yeah, cool and dark has been our go-to.
Next comment is we had a problem with people leaving tons of seeds. Doesn't seem like an issue, but it wasn't being organized and has left the public library hesitant to try again. Any suggestions?
Yeah, that is, I have a couple of just jars of gourd seeds that I have been kind of hanging out. But yeah, I think that having a really clear donation strategy, like clearer signage than you think you need, is one way to go about it. The other way to go about it is to, if you have the volunteer capacity, to have folks leave donations sort of in one specific spot, and have volunteers sort them into smaller envelopes, if there's the volunteer capacity for that. Um, and if even if you have to have signage that says like, we are not accepting donations unless they are already like packed into envelopes. And maybe that is the case, and folks have not been paying attention to that. But I would say if you have the volunteer capacity to either pack them yourselves, or just kind of keep a stronger eye on them, that would be my recommendation.
How do you engage commercial sellers for seed donations?
Yeah, we ask, which that sounds like a curt answer, but I don't mean it to be. We send out either emails or written letters, usually in December, because that's when seed companies usually have donations that are like, that's when they're like closing out the previous year and starting the new one. So that's when we reach out. For the box stores, it has just kind of been asking. Last year we got a donation from Walmart because there was a staff member at Walmart who just happened to know about our cabinet and like called us up and asked if we wanted to accept a donation. So it's really just about like sending out emails, letters, engaging with them. We get donations from Agway, and that is because we, know the manager of the garden department, and collaborate with them. So it can't hurt to ask.
Okay, thank you so much. That was really
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, so we're going to go on to our second presenter. Marie-Ève Boutin is the program coordinator of Squamish Can, which is in my town, a sustainability group that partnered with a local public library to create a seed library in Squamish, British Columbia, Canada. Marie-Ève, just let me know when you'd like me to share your slides, but for the time being, I'll just mute myself, and when you're ready, I'll do that for you, okay?
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Rania. Um, Definitely smaller scale. I'm really happy Ali presented on her projects because we're a very different version of this. Well, I'll start from the beginning. My name is Marie-Ève, as Rania said. I'm program coordinator with Squamish Climate Action Network. Squamish is an unceded territory of the Squamish Nation that's between Vancouver and Whistler, about halfway. For those not familiar, it's in British Columbia, Canada, on the west coast, in the southern part of the province. Um, and yeah, we're a much smaller scale. We're a town of maybe 25,000 people at this point, I would believe. And in 2016, just four people really passionate about seeds wanted to bring more seed sovereignty to Squamish. They got together, they met over a few months, and then they came up with a plan. They presented to the library. And to my surprise, when I spoke to the person who originally started this, because to be clear, I came on board 2019. So when I spoke to Mickey, who's behind the project, she said the library was very lukewarm when they presented to them. Um, she said, in hindsight, they didn't go at it with examples of other seed libraries and how it could work. Um, she said they had to definitely do a lot of convincing. The library was scared that it would look bad, that it would take too much space. They didn't really see the value at first. They asked them to try a different location. And so they went back and they looked around. Nothing was working. They were trying the rec center in town. In the end, they went back and then eventually got their way, and the library accepted by allowing them to use a very small space. They just originally said, yes, go for it, but we just don't want you to take too much space, which is great because seeds are small. And Rania, whenever, if you want to show the picture, it's just the picture from the Squamish Can website that shows the origin of our seed library. So this is Mickey, the tall one right next to the little cabinet there, which is literally just an IKEA bookshelves. And then there's one person missing in the photo, but the four of them just got together. And then the guy on the right, Daniel, created little crates and they sorted a few seeds that were originally donated from four regional either seed companies or another seed library. And they went ahead with that. They used the Richmond Grows resources a fair bit. That's where we got our forms and our pamphlets and all the information. I think everything that we probably see there from the original seed library and the posters all came from the resources that Richmond Grows provided. We now have also, we've added on top of having our form that people can fill out directly at the library, people can also go online and become a member. We spread the word, well, they spread the word in the newsletter at the beginning, and then this also coincided with them putting on the first Seedy Saturday in Squamish. They also spread the word there. They ended up getting 91 people to sign up the first year in 2017. We're now at 465 as of this year. I still don't know really how many people are active in that list. It's been something I've been wanting to do over the years of trying to figure out really who's an active member, who's using the library. And I have a mailing list where tons of addresses don't really get through. I have a lot of people that sign no, that they don't want to get communication. I don't send out a newsletter for the seed library. The communications that I do will be around this time of year because Seedy Saturday is coming up. Maybe in the fall, I might remind people that we have a seed saving workshop to join us and remember to bring seeds. So the promise when they sign up for communication is that there's not too much during the year. So I try to keep it very small. And just like Ali was saying too, the challenge is often community engagement and return of seeds. So we've depended a fair bit on donation. We have a few people in town that are really keen seed savers already, and you often see the same names coming in, the same people will return seeds. I have tried a couple of years ago to create the Squamish Seed Savers group, and people at CD Saturday just signed up. I had about 8 people interested. And what I did was I started a tomato and then gave them a tomato plant and then gave them the instruction. And I was available if they had questions. And then we were going to then put all our seeds together at the end, take some for each of them, and then put the rest in the seed library. So that was a sort of first step to trying to encourage a little bit more the seed saving aspect of the library, because now this year I'm facing really for the first time a massive decline in terms of people have been taking so many seeds, and not that much has been coming back. And I've been sending out an email about that. Like, these are the varieties that we're really low on. If you have leftover packets from commercial seeds that you bought, then share those with us. If you are an active member at the library, we operate on a honor system where part of the mission of the library at the beginning that I want to honor is that they want to give access to seeds. They want the community to have access to growing food. The part where we want the seed sovereignty and to support biodiversity is coming with that hand in hand. Then, sorry, I had notes here and I forgot the next point I was going to share with you. This is the good thing about having a PowerPoint to follow through. Yeah, I guess I didn't mention at the beginning when they first started, they had a $5 annual membership. So people would pay $5 to participate. We never turned anybody around if they didn't pay. It was just something that we encourage people to do to support us financially if we have to buy seeds. We've now changed it to a optional donation. So again, we're not going to turn anyone around. We're not verifying if people pay, but we hope people support by making small donations so we can then add more seeds. Now I've received the odd little bits of donations. I'm hoping that currently the seed library is at home with me because I'm doing germination testing on some of the seeds. This is the beauty of being a much smaller scale. Every few years, I would say this is the second time now in 7 years that I do it. And I'll just grab packets that I know are a bit older or I'm not sure the year, and then I'll test them and I will put all of that back. So after I do all of that, we have CD Saturday, we have a seed swap, and then we have a few donations. I'm hoping that the seed library will go back with a little bit more for people to take from. And I'm at a point now where I'm having to make the decision, do I purchase seeds or do I maybe push it a little bit harder for people to grow what they have and make sure they return them? I'm always available if they have questions on seed saving. We are offering seed saving workshops at CD Saturday, which, like I said, is coming up for us on March 7th. And I usually try at the end of the summer, early September, to do another seed saving workshop. And I find that from those, you get people a little bit inspired and a little bit more equipped to get started. And yeah, I think that's the main thing. I didn't mention, I guess they started in 2017. And so it's been going now for a few years. And again, in about, 9 years since it's been going almost. This is the very first time where I'm facing this challenge of very, very low inventory. And then it's just the adventure of every time coming up with different options. Which one do you take and how do you go ahead with that? So again, much smaller scale than Ali's story. And hopefully this helps people in smaller towns, smaller communities to figure out how to get started or how to overcome certain challenges that may come up along the way. One challenge that I had as well was a few years ago, the library was going to go under renovation, was going to be closed for a while. And then to my surprise again, they kind of went at it, well, we don't know if we'll be able to host you back when we reopen. So that location that we're looking at in that picture was going to be transformed into something else. And so they couldn't have us back there. I insisted, it is not something I'm really good at to push like that, but I really, really insisted and had a couple meetings with the library manager just to remind them of the importance. And they did love at that point the seed library. She just was focused so much on the library aspects that she put us aside a little bit. Eventually, we managed to find something. It was just up in the air for a while. And then, Rania, if you want to show the other one, this is the new setup that we've done. So I just found a secondhand used dresser. We have an IKEA theme, apparently. And so they gave us this spot in the library, which is actually really nice because it's right across from where the checkout of the books happen. And so the staff there sees the traffic and then, can keep an eye. And then people that go there can ask questions to the staff if they need. We have this little spinning, I don't know what to call it, column there where you can spin it around and you have different information. We have pamphlets that I'm pretty sure come from the Richmond Grows resources. So the Seed Saving Basic. We've adapted how to use the seed library. So there's a pamphlet that informs people on the different steps of sign up as a member and then take 2-3 seeds per plant you want to grow or a pinch. All of these things are all available there. Sometimes we will have the Sea to Sky, which is our region, the Sea to Sky Invasive Species Council, who will bring some of their information, some of their pamphlets. They'll put them there too. We have the CBAN, which I am forgetting what it stands for. They're the people that do research in Canada on GMOs, the Canadian Biotech. Oh gosh, I should have looked this up. So these people will also send us pamphlets. We'll advertise for Seeds of Diversity Canada, which is a Canadian seed library. People can access a lot of seeds through their website. It will direct them to all the different seed companies. You can look up by seed and it will tell you where you can find it. They have a network also of seed breeding programs. One of them I've taken part in with another part of my job where we grow ground cherries and we're trying to breed them to become more upright. And then so it's been a few years in the making. I get to share some of these seeds in the library as well. They send us seeds for our events to use for seed swaps. So all of that will end up in there after the event as well. And Rania, you can just skip like quickly through the photos. It's just more close-ups to show, just came up randomly with this idea of, okay, we have little boards and I've put the different varieties and the color system. I've based it with the easy, moderate, and difficult to save. So it gives people an idea because on top of the dresser, there's a paper that explains that means not how hard it is to grow, but how hard it is to save. I've noticed over the years that less is more in terms of how much information I provide and how much guidelines, because the more that I had, the more people ignored it. So I really tried to simplify things. Whereas we used to have things separated per family, now I've separated them in what I thought was just the obvious categories for people to understand. So they will find them in these little baskets in 3 different drawers. So we have them separated in 18 categories. People will just pull out a basket of cucumber seeds and then look through that. Feel free, Rania, to go forward as well. Yeah, it's just to show the top drawer. They have the membership form. There's resources on there people can take. The little basket at the back is where people can return seeds. Then I get to look through those seeds. And if it looks, for example, I had one packet I opened and all the seeds were black stuck together, tomato seeds. I went, yeah, no. So pull those aside. Sometimes there's not enough information. Sometimes I'll do germination testing on them before putting them in the other baskets. So the pamphlets are quite empty in that photo, but sometimes I don't even know where to put them because we have so many. And again, I tried to simplify our system so that people really see the information, because the original version, when we had a desk next to it, there was so much information. I think that people just didn't look at it. So this is what it looks like as of now. And it seems to be obviously used a lot. I've seen the decline in the amount of packets. We get waves where people return a lot of packets. This hasn't been the case right now, so we're going to have to address that, which, just the next challenge that we're going to have to deal with. I think that covers pretty much everything for our little community seed library. A bit shorter than I was given, but yeah, if there's any
Yeah,
question or anything I
there
didn't
are.
cover.
So, the first question is on the original bookshelf versus the drawer. So, does it impact the seeds if they're stored in a drawer versus, so would they last longer if they're in a dark drawer versus having it on an open bookshelf that has light?
I'm glad you're asking that because it reminds me that I forgot to mention one detail that I think is also quite important. And to answer this question directly, I would imagine it helps a little bit. I do pack them in the baskets with silica packets. I know that it's not as efficient as if it was in a jar or in a bag, but for example, I just dried the packets recently. I'll put them back in, and it must help to a certain extent, I would imagine. But the problem was also with the bookshelf originally. There was a rodent problem in the library, and I was informed of that. And then I also realized we had this uh, plastic container, and it was quite a thick plastic container with sunflower seeds in it that was on the bottom shelf of that open bookshelf. And I pulled everything out to remove everything because we were going to move and noticed that a rodent had actually gone through that thick plastic and had gotten some seeds out. So that was a reminder also on their end, on my end, that having a closed system, I mean, hopefully the rodent problem is over there. It wasn't a huge problem, but they were present. They were somewhere in the library. So the closed dresser made them feel better about that it's not going to be an attractant. And I also felt like having something closed with little silica packets, maybe it's giving the seeds a little extra chance in terms of storage conditions.
And just for the people who put questions in the Q&A while Ali was talking, we'll circle back to them at the end with Rebecca. So the next question for Marie-Ève is, can you describe CD Saturday for us?
Oh, yes, for sure. City Saturday is a seed-focused annual event. Ours started in 2017. They've been around for, I believe, over 30 years in our region at least. I know that Vancouver had one just over 30 years ago for the first time. They're community events that are very different depending on where you're going to go, but it's always about seeds, getting people together to swap seeds. Ideally, if you're able in your region to welcome seed vendors. So we have three, I think, regional seed vendors that will join us. It's also gardening best practices. So we will have the Squamish Gardeners Group, I think they're called. I'm forgetting their name. They have a master gardener, so they'll be there also to do outreach, to meet with the public who are interested in joining their group. They answer questions. We welcome organizations like the one I mentioned earlier, the Sea to Sky Invasive Species Council. So they do some outreach and education as well. This year, I'm excited that there's the Native Bee Society of BC that will be there to do as well education on native bees. We welcome also Farm Folk, City Folk, which is BC-wide organization where the part that I'm in touch with is the seed security program. They do so much more than that, but the seed security manager joins us and he will give a talk on seed saving. I have our school farm manager who gives a talk on seed starting for the season. So it's a gathering of people, vendors, organizations that get together to share information, sell seeds or little products. We have medicinal herb grower who sells seeds and salves and different things that she makes. So it's tailored to whatever is in your region, whatever that makes sense to get together for people to come and then learn and meet new vendors and organizations. I hope that answers the question.
Um, is there books that you recommend on seed saving?
Ooh, my absolute favorite. It's a small book from Salt Spring Seeds. And Dan Jason has been so generous and helpful, supporting us over the years in many ways, including he's donated a few of his books to us as door prizes for our event. His books are available at our library as well to borrow. I purchased the book, even though he made all of the information available online on his website. So you can scroll through the page of Seed Saving. I'm pretty sure it's the whole content of his book that's there. I personally like to flip pages and have the book on hand, so I bought it thinking it's not a big cost. Um, I was very surprised when I received it because it is so small. And I thought, really? That's it? Because I had borrowed books before from the library and it's massive and it's got everything. But I found, you know what? Just like I said earlier, less is more. The world of seeds and this whole world of gardening, you can ask so many different people the same question, you'll get different answers, and they're probably all good. But I like to just keep things smaller, otherwise it becomes overwhelming. And so that book to me is not overwhelming. It's got all you need to know, and you can just bring it around your garden. You can refer to it whenever needed. So I would say that's probably my favorite. That one and the one from Seeds of Diversity Canada as well. They have a really good guide, and again, not too big. It's an 8.5 by 11 kind of booklet, and it's got all the basics that I personally use all the time when I do seed saving workshops. I have my PowerPoint, but I always refer to that to show people that there's all the basic information they need to know to go and start saving seeds.
And then I'll just mention one last thing from my end as someone like Squamish Can, basically, the organization that we have in our town. They have they have gardens in schools, basically. So I just wanted to know, Marie-Ève, for other communities that might be interested in bringing gardens to school, do you think that would be something that at some point that the students could learn also about the seed saving, or that's too complex to do?
No, absolutely. I like that you mentioned that because we do, Squamish Can has educators doing lessons in school gardens that are run by our organization in partnership with the school. This year, with the school farm manager, we decided let's make a proper plan and make the most of having these, I think 7 or 8, there's a new project coming up, different schools in our town where we have gardens of different sizes. The biggest one is the school farm at the high school. It's a 1/4 acre farm with 100 foot long by 40 feet wide greenhouse, and it's very productive. There's the farm studies that happen in that garden. And so this year we want to really plan for, okay, so let's do different crops at these gardens where we can isolate them more and then do the seed saving so that it comes back for us to use again within our network of gardens. And then there's most likely going to be a surplus that we can put in the seed library. And in terms of education and seed saving, there's been a little bit in the past. I've helped out a little bit with that, where I went to the high school with the farm studies and then did a bit of germination testing and seed saving so that the kids could learn about that. The different educators try to incorporate at least one of their weekly lessons when it's the right time of the year on seed saving to show the kids the cycle of seed to seed and the different ways you can save your seeds. So that's been done in the past. We just this year want to really focus on doing it in a way that we're going to benefit from the different locations that we have and then have a better seed return to then spread back into the community in terms of schools and seed library for the residents.
Okay, thank you so much. And just because I can see people asking questions, so just everyone knows, so that everyone knows the recording of this will be made available, and I'll do my best to also get a transcript out so that for those who don't want to, who just want to search a document, and also I'll put the website for Squamish Can, which is the organization in our community, because I feel there's also so many good resources just to even see how to build more of a community around gardening. And I'll also add the Squamish Gardeners because they're just an independent group of seniors in our community that basically they all work together and they'll always have a plant sale. So it's just a couple of good examples of how do you get people working together and saving the seeds, which is part that seems to be it's the biggest problem of everyone. So thank you so much, Marie-Ève. And then the last speaker that we have today is Rebecca Newburn. So Rebecca is the co-founder of the Richmond Grows Library, seed lending library in Richmond, California. They were the seventh seed library to open, and her goal was to create it as a replicable model that would allow any community to steward their own seeds through seed libraries. The concept spread quickly, which prompted her to create the Seed Library Network, where she developed the seedlibrary.org, which I'll also put in the chat, and we will forward the information, which sure most of you have visited the website before. And she's also the creator and the editor of Cool Beans, the newsletter she was the editor and creator for the last 13 years of this newsletter. So Rebecca, I'll let you start. And just so you know, I'll put a few links in the chat because, well, you can let them know about the course next Tuesday on.
I will. Thank you so much. First off, I am so excited you folks are here and are interested in starting a seed library or have started one recently. It is such a journey, such a pleasure to be on this with you. I've been doing it for 15 years now, and it really has been just one of the happy places in my life, which is a good thing at this moment in time in history. And so I'm going to kind of give a little bit of background. So I'm just trying to get my slides set here. So I'm going to talk a little bit about just first off, seed libraries are as diverse as the communities that we serve. And there's no one correct way to do it. You get to decide what works best for you, the resources you have, the time, the money, the volunteers, the staff. So once again, I saw some comments about doing it by yourself. So thinking about what are the systems that are going to work for your situation. And if you haven't determined a location, there are so many places you can put in a seed library. From public libraries, which is obviously a large section of where seed libraries are located, to food pantries, nature centers, agricultural centers, places of worship. The list is quite long, and you can be inspired if you look at our map and see where different people have put their seed libraries in their communities. And I think another thing to note is that the size and the shape vary significantly. They can be as small as a shoebox. They can be beautifully painted and pieces of art by local artists. It can be a repurposed card catalog or boxes on a shelf like you saw with Marie-Ève's. So just to know that your vision, just expand it, because whatever you want to imagine is how it looks. Like I have one right outside my house, which is a little book, one of those little book libraries that I just have seeds in. So today I'm going to share a little bit about how Richmond Grows California, how we started, but then also how we changed recently as well. And I'll highlight some of the resources for your seed journey as we go through this. We'll talk about, if you want to see some of the cabinets that people have created, you can go to the seedlibrarynetwork.org website to our Explore Cabinets page. And then also one of the things to consider is your partners. Once again, if you're trying to do it by yourself, it's really great to have people in community with you. So that could be local seed saving clubs. It could be gardening clubs. You could connect with a permaculture group. If you're here in the United States, they have master gardeners. So there's really, it could be a school. There's a number of people and groups that might make a really nice partnership to help you get your community supported through a seed library. And I have to say for myself, one of the things I want to talk about is just some of the tips and kind of that have helped me over the years. And the first one is it doesn't need to happen all the first year or even the first couple of years. So pace yourself. I think about, the seed libraries that have been around for, 15 years, like we've been around for 15 years or even longer. And, they've kind of figured out a system that works during times of larger volunteers and smaller volunteers. So just think about pacing yourself so that it can become sustainable, and then it's sustainable for you and for the community. So the other thing to mention is that don't expect a lot of returns the first few years or so. Plan on just getting the word out, plan on starting building your capacity, putting in some education programs, and then over time you can work towards increasing your return rate. And the other tip I would say is start with a scale that you can manage, and you can always grow. I think about when I first started talking with the people in Pima County, Arizona. They started with one seed library. Now they're up to 20 seed libraries. They're planning on having all branches, 100% of them will be with seed libraries. That's 27 branches, and they have an interlibrary loan system where you can go on to the book borrowing system and get seeds sent to your local public library. So once again, there's lots of different ways this can work. Find one that works for you. So as I said, I'm going to start with Richmond Grows, kind of where we started, what we look like now, and kind of some of the things that I've learned along the way. This is what we say on the left-hand side. You can see we started with the cabinet on the left. It's still the same cabinets, but we've kind of changed our system. So we started in 2010. Professionally, I'm a middle school science teacher, so I have a full-time job and I run 2 nonprofits. So I wanted to make sure that this was going to be self-sustaining. And so I wanted to pick systems that I knew were going to work for that and for my busy life. And I looked towards Basil, which is the Bay Area Seed Interchange Library. That's the oldest seed library in Berkeley, California. And I mean, in the modern sense, obviously people have been saving and sharing seeds for millennial and community. So I wanted to just kind of take a moment to honor that we have what we have because of all this community connection over millennia. But Basil had been around for 15 years when we started, and it had gone through periods of a lot of seeds and pretty fallow, meaning not much in their collection. And I wanted to have something that was going to be so for me, the system that I chose was to kind of model after them, to have a self-serve system. And the other thing was we were in a library. They had just lost half of their library staff the day that I got a yes on going ahead with having a seed library. So there was a very strong reduction in the library staff, so it had to have no impact on the library. So that was another reason why we decided to self-serve. We have 3 cabinets, and we have a rather large collection. Once again, if you've got a smaller collection, you think about a system that's going to work for your context. We have 3 cabinets. One is vegetables, another one is herbs, and the third one is flowers, natives, and we also have a dye plant and fiber plant drawer in that small cabinet. And with the vegetables, what we had done was we had done a system around how easy it is to save the seeds. So it's not about how easy it is to plant and to grow, but it's how easy is it to get those seeds back and have them come out like the parent plant. So you'll see on the Seed Library Network, you'll see this option to download this signage, super easy, easy and difficult. Difficult meaning things that either very readily cross-pollinate and but some of them aren't actually really difficult. You just need to ensure that you hand pollinate and do it properly. On our herb drawer, it was done alphabetically. And once again, if you have a large multilingual community and something's alphabetical, you may want to have a key so that people that speak another language, they have the access to that, so they know they can look in their home language and it's organized so that they can find the seeds that they're looking for if it's alphabetically organized. And then for a flower drawer, it's also alphabetical, and we just kind of put them all as kind of easy. Although obviously there's a lot of cross-pollinating. We weren't as concerned about the cross-pollinating with them, just because it's not a food item. And originally when we first started in 2010, most of our donations came from seed companies And we also got a large donation from our garden club and a botanical garden. So we had about 10% local when we started. We decided not to do any repacking, even if it was a commercial donation, just because of, as I said, the time commitment. And while I'm sure some people ended up taking the whole packet, the way that we tried to at least educate people about quantities was we just got some of those Avery stick labels, and you could just do it. I think also at one point we just had it printed out and glued onto packets, which just says take 2 to 3 seeds for each plant you want to grow, or take a pinch. So instead of repackaging a commercial package, we just put on the package how many seeds they should take out of the envelope. And once again, obviously some people are going to take the whole packet, but at least we were making an attempt to educate people about appropriate quantities. And as someone, I think I don't know if it was, yeah, Marie-Eve had mentioned about the rodent invasion. We had the same thing happen in our collection. So about 10 years ago, I got an email saying, do you know you have mice in your collection? It was a very rainy time, so people weren't really planting during the winter season at that time. We have a 365 growing season here in coastal California, but it was a time when people weren't going into the seed library, but the mice were, and they took out everything. Everything except for one packet was eaten. At that point, we decided to switch to jars. And so the labeling kind of ended up becoming on the jar. So I had to kind of think about how am I going to do that to make it easy for myself with moving forward. So I want to show you our new system. So last year we got together as a group. So we have a small group of people that are involved in our organization in terms of the back end. During the pandemic, we had about 60 volunteers, but now it's more about 5 to 6 people. And one of the volunteers was really interested in redesigning the catalog around warm season and cold season, because in many places there's a cooler season and a warmer season. And so our whole cabinet is organized based on that. I'm just going to kind of quickly show you. So you can see from the one on the right, you can see the blue thing. So if it's a cooler temperature, fall, that these would be, or late winter, these would be the ones that you would be, or spring, whatever, these are the ones we'd be planting. And then the red ones would be ones that you could plant during the, late spring and summertime. And we also created this Plant Now guide, which I love. It goes through and it kind of takes all this information and pulls it together. So for example, if you're looking for, it's alphabetical, it's in Spanish and English, because we have a large Hispanic population. So it says, the common name, amaranth, and then it says in Spanish, amaranto, and then it tells you which drawer to find it in, and then also the seed saving level. So it's easy if you just plant one variety. If you end up planting more than one variety, it's likely going to cross. But you can see that arugula, so it's more. So this kind of helps. And then we also have on it the little beans indicate that you can not only plant it at this time, but it's the ideal time to plant it to get it all the way to seed that, that season or that year. And then lastly, we kind of, this other kind of thing we added around donations to make it a little bit easier for people to understand how to do donations. And if you are interested in figuring out how to increase your donations and thinking about your borrowing procedures, I am offering, there's a free class that I'm going to be doing through the American Public Library Association next Tuesday, this Tuesday, the 17th. So Rania, if you can put that in the chat, that would be great. I'll also send it out through the email, but if you want to join us for an hour and a half program specifically on donations and borrowing, that is a great place to kind of join us, to kind of dive deep, and that will be recorded if you are interested in getting more information on those particular processes, if you're a little bit maybe further down the road or just want to see where you're going. So I want to talk and just kind of, this is something that often comes up, at least in the United States, but it is completely legal to share seeds in a library or a swap. And there are no legal ramifications if something is mislabeled or has a low germination rate. To give you a brief history, in 2014, a Pennsylvania library was told that Seed Library was considered a commercial distributor. And with the support of the Sustainable Economies Law Center, the Seed Library Network spent the next 2 years working with state seed control officials and the seed industry representatives to update the recommended uniform state seed law. That's the recommendations that go out to all states about how seeds are sold and distributed. And so we got in that recommendation basically saying that seed libraries are exempt from any commercial regulations, germination tests. The only important thing to note is that we can continue to, so basically the important thing to note is that we can continue to do what we've done for over 10,000 years, which is share seeds in our community and grow food for our families and our neighbors. And these are the things that you need to know. The important thing is you can't require returns, but you can encourage them. Have a sign about local seed quality so that people understand this is different than a commercial operations. It's kind of obvious, but it's a good thing to note. In your signage and your membership information, state that you don't accept GMOs and you don't accept patented varieties. In the United States, they would be listed as PVPs, but in other places, just knowing patented varieties. And your package, just as good practice, should have the date, donated time, like the date that it was donated or harvested, and the source. We have a rather lengthy sign in our seed library stating all that information, but it could be as simple as what the Talbot County Seed Library in Maryland has, which just says, seeds from the library may not meet germination or varietal purity standards per Maryland seed law. So just a simple statement like that helps people understand that this is not a commercial operation. So I want to go over a little bit of the resources and tools. We have a lot on the website. I know you were confident of searching it, but there is so much there that I just want to highlight some of the things so that you don't miss resources that might really help you in your journey getting organized and launched. So first up, we have the how to start a seed library, which you probably have seen, which includes general instructions. And the thing I want to note is that if you're interested in having a specialty collection, whether it's the library itself is a native collection, or you want to include some aspect of having like a drawer with natives, we have separate web pages about native seed libraries. We also have one about school libraries, academic libraries, herbal and dye seed libraries as well. So if you want to include some of those or actually have a specialized library, those resources are available as a sub kind of page in the how to start a seed library section. And I want to say we're so grateful for the tons of resources that we're able to offer. And the reason we're able to do that is because this community is incredibly generous. You will note on the bottom of many of our web pages, you'll see these community tips and resources and add your resources tips. And many of the things we have on and have highlighted on our website are things that we have been shared, people have shared with us. And if you have particular resources that you have created and you want other people to benefit from them, please add them to the bottom of that particular page on the website, add your resources. And then if you're exploring and wanting to see other examples, so you have a kind of fuller picture of what people have done, as well as people's tips and suggestions, then I recommend clicking on the community tips and resources. Once again, these are on the bottom of most of our web pages so that you can kind of benefit from the journey that other people have taken. And I want to say one of the most exciting things, one of the most exciting things that we discovered, I mean, there's so many amazing resources, but one of the things that was a game changer for me, and I'm sure it will help many of you on your journey. Oh my gosh, we need a drum roll for this one. Is, love this one, the auto seed wrapper. Labeling can be such a time-consuming task. And this amazing man named Braden Richland from a library in Wisconsin created a spreadsheet. And then we worked with it for about 3 months. I worked with a volunteer, and we added in a ton of resources. What we added in kind of the varietal name and planting instructions, seed saving instructions. And then I had some lovely interns who helped to then add in 70 common varieties, sorry, 70 common species. So you can download this from our envelopes and labels page on our website. And it's a spreadsheet. It's got 70 lines. You can just go to beans. It has the species name, you know, the instructions on how to plant it, the seed saving instructions. There's a space where you can add your website. There's a space where you could brand it. You could have a picture. It comes in so many different forms. So this is what we're kind of a low budget, high impact organization in Richmond Groves. So we do everything for ours on paper. So this is kind of what it looks like for us, where we just put it on. We just, it's just stapled on. We also do it, like I said, we don't tend to do things in envelopes. We just have things in jars. So I cut one out and I put it on the top of the jar and I put it on the side of the jar. And then we just, with the aid of a trusty paper cutter, I'm a teacher, I have access to these things. We just put in lots of little labels. And then when people get it, they just take the amount that they need and put it in their own envelope, and then they're good to go. So that is just a great way. And as I said, it comes in so many different sizes. You can print them out this size. I know you can't see all this, but it's like this size. And they focus on different things. And this size and this size. So just game changer. And next year when I go to plant out the extra precoce a grano fava bean, all I need to do is change it to 2026, press a button, and we are good to go. We do have this translated into Spanish, French, and Portuguese. We've been working on trying to get the labels, because obviously this was made in the United States originally, so everything is customary system versus metric. So we've been kind of working on getting the A4 labels, what would work. So I'm happy to get some feedback from people that use labels and how that would work in your system. But we will be having the Spanish, French, and Portuguese version coming up. And as I said, game changer, press a button, comes out. So nice, so nice. Just like hundreds of hours. It's all in one place. So easy. Oh my gosh. Okay. And we are thinking about it. Also, we are working on trying to do another version of that with natives. So if you are a native person, we would love to do that same thing, and we can have like regional native collections so that people can access that, and we're not replicating our work. We're not reinventing the wheel. We can just go there and download and use it. So if you're a native person, you're interested in helping out with that and doing like a bioregional system, like let me know. And I do have an intern helping with that as well. But we want to do regions from all over the place. And I'm going to talk a little bit about increasing donations. Once again, you can join the talk that I'm going to give on Tuesday, the 17th. It's 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. But once again, it is going to be recorded. So that's not a problem if you are not able to attend in person. And that's going to be in the chat. And I want to talk about these two methods that you can increase donations. One is called a Grow a Row program. This is where you reach out to people and say, can you help us grow something out with the benefit of it going to the community? So you're growing this specifically for the intention of saving seeds to return to the library so that other people can have them and grow them out. So we've done this in particular with things that are locally important. For example, we got this great Aunt Rosie's Italian pole bean and Louis Nicoli pole bean, which were two Italian people in the community that had grown these amazingly delicious beans. We were able to get people to grow them out first in larger quantities, and then we're able to share them out with the community in, a different program, which is called the One Seed, One Community program. But before I move on, thinking about Grow a Row, you can ask Master Gardeners, if you are in the United States, to make that part of your Master Gardener program, saying if you grow this out and we give you the seeds and you see it, then we'll give you X number of community, like your volunteer hours that you need. So they can be grown out in demonstration gardens as well. If you have a demonstration garden So these are just some ways working with schools. We've had schools, we've had some urban ag people that have done our Grow a Row program and helped us amplify the quantity of seeds we have. At Richmond Grows, we're a 100% local seed library, so we're really happy to be able to offer that. And it's in part because of some of the partnerships that we have, such as with I'm a school teacher, and we have a school seed library. Like our garden is a seed library, but we've also partnered with, as you saw maybe in the chat earlier, the Community Seed Exchange in Sebastopol. They've always been generous in giving seeds, and that's within our, within like a 40-minute drive of where our library is, and then also the Going to Seed people in Mendocino County. And as I was saying, so One Seed, One Community is a different plan, and this is where everyone grows the exact same seed, and you walk them through with a series of emails. So you have to get their email, like, I'm going to give you seeds, you're going to give me your email, and we're going to walk you through how to save the seeds. And that's been a really powerful way to get people. And the thing you'll notice is once you get someone to save seeds, they are on Team Seed Saver. And kind of lastly, just seed swaps. If you have a seed swap, we encourage you to check out our seed swap resources. If something is likely diverse, just have a little stamp. We stamp it on just likely diverse so that people know that. We also have seed swap participant information, and just check it out. There's so much there to kind of help you on your journey. You will be getting the slideshow, so don't worry about all the links. You can come back to it later. And then lastly, I want to highlight we have educational resources. Whether you want to take a class, you can go to that. If you want to teach a class, we have a customizable seed saving class called Seed Saving Community. All of the resources are open source, so you don't have to worry about any of that. And then there's also a Train the Trainer manual from the Organic Seed Alliance. We also have resources. These are in Spanish, French, Portuguese that you can download off of our website. You can use Canva and kind of rebrand them so that you can just, it's time to save tomatoes, and just put that up in your seed library to kind of give people a visual about what that looks like. So at this point, I am going to open up for questions. So Rania, help me out. What's in the question box?
Okay, so the first thing I'll say is the URL for your class on Tuesday isn't working, so don't worry, we're going to
Okay.
put that in the follow-up email. So someone asked, when all your seeds got eaten but one, what was it? Because it could
I
be
know,
rodent.
I know, I know. I was like, it was a like a some type of squash. I mean, I know it when I see it. It's like it wasn't a Kusha squash, but it began with a C. And I was just like, oh, I'm not going to eat that thing. It's not good enough for the rodents. I'm not going to eat it. And then the other part of me goes, maybe that's the one thing I should be saving. So I'm a little mixed on it, but it was some type of squash. And I'm wondering if it was treated, or I have no idea why, but I had 5 packets of it in it, and it ate none of them. It was super fascinating.
Okay,
Bizarre.
so someone asked if they said, I'm curious to hear if any libraries have seed cleaning equipment for loaning or other collaboration on cleaning larger batches of
That
seeds.
is such a great question. If you go to the Seed Library, well, first off, I'll say if you go to the Seed Library Network website, we have a section on seed cleaning. We recently got, for the Richmond Groves Seed Lending Library, we recently got a zigzag machine, which you basically it's like a big square thing. You pour it in the top, and there's a vacuum, and there's a little zigzag in it. And the seeds go down one side, and all the chaff, all the debris goes down the other side. So we got that made. Someone made it for us for free from the Community Seed Exchange in Sebastopol. Ooh, go people. And all the pictures on our website are from this guy's garage. But that is now available for our anyone in our community to use. So it's being held at a farm, and then it's open for we have 66 seed libraries in a 2-county area where I live. So that's open for that. So I just did a seminar to the Master Gardeners in December, and I was suggesting that Master Gardeners really should be at least in the United States, as one of these hubs for seed cleaning equipment that people should be able to use. So kind of tap them on the shoulder.
Okay, so there's a couple more questions that
Sure.
are so if we don't get to all of them,
Yeah,
we'll
we won't get to all of them, but that's all good.
That one's a bit longer. So what about using vending machines as seed library? Are there ways to adjust retrieval mechanisms? Examples, pay, no pay, email address. How I know maintenance would be a concern.
Yeah, I don't really know about that, but there is a woman, Kaylin, who's going to be in one of the breakout rooms. So she can answer that question. And if you email me, I can connect you with her or put it in the chat.
So viability charts have sometimes a range. Would you choose the longest time?
Um, I would. We just basically, I mean, the whole like, oh, it's, throw the packet out at the end of the year. I mean, that makes sense for a farmer whose livelihood depends on the fact that it germinates or not. But I would just say if the germination, it's towards the end of the germination life, I would just encourage people. I just write older seed, plant more. So you could even have a stamp, older seed, plant more.
So in your experience, are the return seats labeled accurately? What do you require for the labels?
Yeah, so we have on our donation thing, we say what we require. And then, like I said, I'm teaching the class on donations next week, which goes more in depth on that. But you, as a minimum, want the, species name, it could be like just cucumbers, the varietal name, the year it was saved, and prefer and then also the grower's name, so that if we have any questions, for example, if someone returns something and I don't know who, they didn't say who it was, and they said it was a squash, I'm going to just automatically assume it's a diverse mix because they didn't hand pollinate it. So we ask for the grower's name just to help us verify that information.
Okay, so since some plant varieties can cross and hybridize, are those flagged like an F1 or F2, etc.?
So we are doing a lot. If you can see on, I don't know if you can see this. Can you see this? It says diverse mix.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So there are certain things that are going to, I live in a city-ish, suburban-ish, city-ish, but we have lots of people that grow corn. Like you will never in this area be able to return corn that is going to come out true to type. We still accept some things that tend, like I grow collards. Collards are going to cross if anyone else is growing them around in this area and any of the other species. So we will accept them, but we will just clearly label that they are diverse. So people that are choosing them at least have the option, at least have the awareness that what they're getting may not be the mother plant. And we are actually celebrating a lot of diverse mixes. So we're working a lot with going to seed and looking at that. And so we actually on this one here, it says a landrace mix. So this was an intentional mix of many, many different types of cucumbers. And then I added in some of my favorites and we just let them cross-pollinate and select it from the ones that we like the best.
Okay, so I love this question. It says, do you use a spreadsheet to keep track of what seeds you stock?
No, I don't. I should, but I just don't have the bandwidth, especially because I have get seeds from so many different places. It's one of the things that I always think about, but I have a system about knowing what I have like I'm running low on stock, it's time to grow this out method. But because I share seeds with, probably 15 different libraries, tracking quantities is just do it by jars and like where it is in my cabinet. And I think I'm gonna have to move on to the next. So I would love to keep asking questions, but I do want to get people into breakout rooms and whatnot. So first off, just thank you so much for joining us. We are really excited and we are going to go into breakout rooms. If you are planning on leaving at this point or you are watching the recording, if you could get
I'll put
and
it
we will be
in.
sharing this in the breakout rooms too. So for people that are staying for the breakout rooms, you do not need to do the feedback piece right now, but we are offering for several random participants, they will be gifted seed bundles. And once again, we can only do it for people in the United States and Canada. So we're really grateful for Adaptive Seed, Hudson Valley Seed Company, and the Great American Seed Up to kind of be donating seeds. And then in Canada, we have the Tournesol Cooperative Farm in Quebec, Salt Springs, which was mentioned earlier with Dan Jason's work, and the Jardin Montagnier.